Welcome back to Foxfire Farmhouse.
Welcome. You thought you could get rid of us.
But you can't. We're back once again.
You didn't.
Episode 21. Here to talk about a movie this time.
22.
Sorry, we just had 21.
Yeah.
Episode 22, we're here to talk about a movie again. And this our movie of choice this time is the new Pixar movie, Turning Red. Mm-hmm. We wanted to dive into that because, well, it's Pixar. And so everyone usually wants to go see the new Pixar thing.
Yeah.
And this is a new Pixar thing that
they've been known for quality.
Yeah. I mean, who can hate the people who made Toy Story?
Yeah.
Apparently a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people. What about the people who made Toy Story 4?
Okay, that's true. Yep, this is very true.
I think
One day
you
we'll
could
get to
probably
the
look
Toy
at that
Story
one
4.
and see the downfall.
Yeah, things have been in a state of decline. So we just want to tackle it just to give our thoughts on it since it's fresh and hot, and we wanted to talk through it a little bit. So before we get into it, for those of you who, this is just going to be a short review, but for those of you who maybe haven't seen it and maybe don't want to see it, here's the synopsis from IMDb. Mm-hmm. A 13-year-old girl named Malin turns into a giant red panda whenever she gets too excited. And there is the plot. And that is all.
Yeah.
And we're done. Okay.
All right, that was a good review.
So
see you guys next week.
Yeah. So Meili is here's another one written.
May.
This is written by actual Disney Pixar. Meili is a confident, dorky 13-year-old torn between staying her mother's dutiful daughter and the chaos of adolescence. Her protective, if not slightly overbearing mother, Ming, is never far from her daughter, an unfortunate reality for the teenager. And as if changes to her interests, relationships, and body weren't enough, whenever she gets too excited, which is practically always, she poofs into a giant red panda. And that pretty much sums up the kind of
That's a really
inciting
good
incident from the get-go.
Yeah.
Because she's just this dorky 13-year-old girl.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it starts. And then she gets all worked up about a boy and then turns into a huge red panda.
Yeah.
And
let's start with the good. Let's start with maybe what's one good thing that you found in it before we just start kicking it on the ground.
Maybe you should start if you have something.
I have one good thing. They had a really cool idea with the fact that this thing is tied to her emotions, like that she becomes I think it's a good metaphor for coming into teenagerhood and of just kind of becoming kind of a weird monster.
So maybe the concept is good.
That's
I think the execution.
that's all I'm saying.
Is terrible because Inside Out is one of my. I don't know that it's one of my favorite, but it's one of the greats, I would say, of
5 stars
of the Pixars. Right, it's so good.
Yeah.
And what they did was take a human situation and your emotions again. Right, we're dealing with the emotions. Yeah. And put them into created characters for them so that your emotions have emotions, and now we deal with them. And it was just a really fascinating, interesting, fun, beautiful.
Explored a lot of philosophical things.
It was great
while making it fun.
Absolutely. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
And so the idea of someone making a movie about puberty in that same way, right? I think is actually not a bad idea at all. I think that's splendid and can be a really fun thing to do. So imagine talking about a teenage girl and saying that, okay, how about when she's got this thing going in her family that when she becomes a teenager, she turns into a giant red panda and she has to learn how to control the panda, right? So that idea is very intriguing to me. And I'm like, okay, I like the metaphor. I like the symbolism. I think there's a lot, if you pitch that kind of idea to me, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'd be all in for this kind of movie. I think that'd be great. Yeah. Because I've seen films that have executed on that kind of thing. There's actually a short film called, I think it's just called The Candy Shop. That's about sexual exploitation of young women and is a wonderful film. But what happens, the way they do it, and it's just genius, the story, I think, is that there's this candy shop that's set up in town. And these little girls go to the candy shop and the candy shop maker basically lures them in and then turns them into lollipops. And then men go and buy these lollipops, right? Like, so just the imagery is all of a sudden completely safe. But because you are actually turning the young girl into an object that is consumed, it is like an even more powerful thing almost than actually showing, that kind of darkness.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so it was just a powerful metaphor. And so the idea of taking these kinds of like hard things to talk about in life and put in a movie, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Except
when you're ham-fistedly punching through everything with a bunch of agendas.
Yeah. So what? So
it doesn't really work so well.
So where would you start with just?
Goodness, I would start with the opening line of the movie.
I love the opening line of the movie. It's the second line of the movie.
Second line of the movie. Just that she's like, honor your father and mother, and basically it's a lie, and that it's not worth any weight in the real world. Like, she's a confident person who doesn't need her parents. She's 13, just really sassy. And sure, you can start a movie with that. And she's like, oh, she's really sassy. But when the entire movie is to prove that, yes, she was right to be sassy and to be disrespectful to her parents from the outset, that's wrong.
Right.
That's immediately, like, this is Junior Knows Best, just
cranked up to 11.
Yeah, the movie should be called Junior Knows Best. Like, that's...
So the monologue is just basically saying, I have to honor my parents a lot because they've done a lot for me. And so I've got to, here's kind of...
Because they've sacrificed their whole life for me, blah, 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 blah.
And she's like, now some people could struggle with like not being themselves because of that and not getting out of their shell or whatever, but I don't struggle with that.
Yeah.
And it's just, then the rest of the movie doesn't go on to contradict it. Her turning into the panda is a great thing for her. It's a good thing. Her letting the panda out is what she's, in the end, she decides to keep the panda, like to not discipline the panda and like restrain it and become an adult. Instead, she's just going to be a permanent adolescent.
Yeah.
Like what?
Just do what she wants. Like
literally. So if the panda is a metaphor for puberty, for becoming a woman, then or the dark, I shouldn't say for becoming a woman, but for the uncontrolled emotions and hormones of becoming a woman, then she literally, in the end, decides to keep all of that and use it as a good thing. And I maybe in some, you'd have to just stretch it so far to make that actually mean something good.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. The other thing that like just really frustrates me is that they actually brought puberty into it.
Yeah.
And a girl's cycle actually into it.
Yeah. Like in some detail too. Like this isn't something that like necessarily you want to like break down to a toddler. Like
when the mom is bringing her daughter's pads to school, thinking that's what's happened.
Yeah.
Which, then now we've got to have a talk with your 4-year-old and 5-year-old who's watching this film to say, and by the way, I didn't watch this with my kids. I watched it late at night after they went to bed because
I made that mistake.
So
my kids are
they're pretty
little
young.
toddlers.
Yeah, they're probably not going to.
We didn't watch it again, but
it's like my kids would definitely catch on. The
I mean, I didn't know anything about it. I'm not a bad parent. I was just like, oh, a new Pixar movie, and I threw it on.
This is why we want to talk about the movie, right? Is because there are other parents who are like that, who might just want to throw it on, but who might have kids that are older, or
animation
just want to give
looks
them,
great.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
See, except I don't love the animation. It's not. It's not groundbreaking. It doesn't do anything.
It isn't groundbreaking, but I appreciate. Like, I feel like that style could have been used very well because it's kind of Ghibli-ish. I thought like it was an anime interestingness. Like I thought the animation was interesting. Okay. Personally,
there were some fresh things they did.
Yeah,
but that got old so fast to me. I don't know why. I have to think through that more.
Yeah.
I don't have strong opinions, I guess, either way. It just didn't stand out to me. Yeah. In the same way that something like something like a Ghibli animation or recently the new Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse or something, it didn't feel like we were groundbreaking something with animation. So.
No. Yeah.
But,
that
is what it is. Yeah. But like once you bring in the reality that the symbol is pointing to, the symbol is no longer a symbol, it's its own thing. So it'd be one thing if like her parents should have from the get-go known this is probably the panda, right? Why wasn't that the first thing they're thinking? And if the panda is actually tied to puberty, then like then the mom shouldn't be worried about the girl's pads.
Yeah.
You know, like she should be worried about the fact she's about to turn into a monster. And if her mom's own experience was, which spoilers, her mom's experience with it was really bad because she was a Godzilla level creature.
Yeah.
Then if that was the case, then they should have actually been worried about the panda more than they were worried about the period. So it's so weird. So if they wouldn't have brought that in and they just let the red panda actually be a metaphor for that, it could have been so much better. And the red panda should have never been a commercialized thing.
Yeah.
That then, because the girls capitalize
I completely
on it.
Forgot about that. Like, what the heck? Like,
The girls commercialize on this
it
thing.
did feel a little weird. Like when they're like, that's so wrong. Like,
right. It's like, what is this movie about?
Yeah.
Is it about like getting through puberty? And if it is, this is how you get
through puberty by like videotaping yourself and selling that to people. Like, is that what you're wanting to tell people? Like,
right. You become an Instagram influencer and
what
in the best of worlds?
Yeah. Like, did they just do that?
Yeah,
yes, they did.
They did.
They did
Absolutely.
just do that. And they glorified it. And they said, this is great. She's an entrepreneur. She's making money.
Yeah.
Look at her.
It's
her tail, her
quite
choice. Is what she says in the end.
My panda, my choice.
My panda, my choice. And
so
you're like,
they throw that in there. And
that.
it's like, oh my gosh,
I
come on. People.
I think I turned it off right at that point. I was just like, I know there's only 5 minutes left. But,
yeah. And so in the end, she keeps her panda.
Yeah.
Which just means that it keeps the ability to turn into it. Because everyone else in their family, for those who haven't watched
does a ceremony.
They do the ceremony that like contains the panda into some object. So it gives it basically is their way of controlling the thing. And so the girl decides not to. She's not going to, number one, she's not going to honor her parents in the way that they've been doing things.
Nope.
She's not going to honor her tradition. He's not going to, and everything goes great. Everything's wonderful. You don't have to honor your tradition. You really just have to kind of work out a compromise so that your parents don't hate you. But definitely go your own way.
Yeah.
And it's just a trash movie.
Yeah. There's just so much that it could have been something good. Like I was saying, like you have that metaphor, would have been a great metaphor to go with. You have also the fact that she thinks that she's super free, but she's super strict and like super like regimented and doesn't have any freedom. Like that's something that you can explore too. Like you can explore that in a thoughtful way of going, well, maybe her parents are overbearing a little bit. Like, and that's,
every teenager struggles with this.
Yeah.
This is part of what it means to come of age. We've made movies about this since we were making
forever.
movies.
Like there's easier ways to handle this. Like just go back to the 80s and look at all of those movies and how they explored all these things. Like,
it's been done way better.
Yes.
To come out and just to be like, hey, actually, let's just try revise it. Actually, this movie is just, how about we not honor our parents and make a movie that just says, hey, forget you guys. We're moving on. And that's what they did. And this is just, and the other thing is that, so a lot of the Pixar movies now are moving to like cultural things. So you've got Luca. So Italy, you've got, what was the
Encanto was Peru,
right? But what was I was going back to the first one I think that they started
Moana?
with, which was
Brave.
Oh man, somebody's Coco.
I never watched Coco. Yeah.
Okay, I think Coco was before. Was it before Moana? Is Disney?
That was just Disney.
Yeah, Moana was, because that was the first one since Frozen, I think.
Yeah.
But so like they have Coco, which is like Mexican Day of the Dead ceremony. They have Luca, Italian. They've got Encanto, Peruvian.
Yeah.
Now they have this. They're just kind of working through the world cultures and in one sense, I'm okay with, like, I don't necessarily have anything.
That aspect. Like,
I don't have anything directly against it. I just have like knowing where that whole
where
thought process is coming from is not helpful. And so then you get like, hey, but what is really bad is that it's like, okay, we're going to do something for the Asian culture. But then they use all the stereotypes of Asian families, right? Like the overbearing parents who wants their kids to become super rich and successful. Yeah. And they played to say, hey, that's a stereotype that we probably should break. And I think that's why there's a lot of young Asians probably that feel like that, that they want, okay, we want to, break free of our parents' expectations. And in some ways, like, that's the struggle of growing into an adult. And you have to do that. And you have to figure your own way. You're like, yes, like you said, go back to the 80s. These things have happened again and again and again. These movies have been made. But the way out is not
No.
totally disregard your parents, totally disregard your heritage. Right? So this is like, hey, we're going to make a movie for Asian folks.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're going to say is you probably shouldn't be Asian. It's like, what?
Yeah, just
okay.
throw it all out and become this weird conglomeration that we now have.
Become a pop star.
Yeah, become a pop star. Become an Instagram model. Like that's
Instagram model pop star
Yeah.
who follows the latest
whim.
K-pop group, you know,
Yeah.
like, and then you're the next.
Anyway.
And that's just, it's not going to bear the kind of fruit in kids' lives that they want it to. It's destructive in the long run. And, you know,
I'd
kids,
just say,
honor your parents.
yeah, honor your father and mother as the words that they use. Literally, honor your father and mother. I'm like, wow, you're gonna start
they're
it
gonna
off
go
like
right
this,
there.
right there for the jugular.
Yeah.
I admire that you straight up said that.
Yep.
Like I admire that you're being very candid. Although I think that is not on purpose. I think it's just because you're not being deft with your.
But it's a good warning because immediately it gets Christians thinking like, okay, honor your father. Oh, Christianity. How does this Christianity play? Oh, that's terrible.
That's a big old.
Is
red
she
flag.
going to grow? And then, you know.
Nope, she does. That's why we watch
it. If you don't get lost in the cuddles, if you don't get lost in all the cuddles, then you're like, wait a second, she doesn't learn anything.
Yeah, that's what. That's yeah. I mean,
well, this has been
a
good little review and rant of.
Don't watch it.
Yeah, so if me and Elijah watch something that either like really gets us excited, we'll talk about it. If we watch something that really gets us just
infuriated,
we're just gonna let it out on you people. So we apologize, but we
Be
hope
warned
that maybe this has been a help.
If this is your kid's favorite movie and you haven't seen it, maybe you should look at it.
Yes,
before you.
Definitely.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Anyway,
this has been another episode. We are glad to have you. If you have a movie you want us to talk about or you have questions about movies, you can always contact us. Podcast at foxfirefarmhouse.com. And we'll be back to you there. Thanks again for listening, and we will be with you next time.
Bye.